Here is the drafting and cutting of this trendy sleeve cape tutorial. So if this looks like what you're interested in, watch to the end. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. To achieve this cape, you need half yard of your fabric of your choice. I made use of a doll face fabric, so a soft crepe will be fine too. But this depends on the body size. You need to draft a basic pattern. Take your measurement from your shoulder to your preferred cape length. So I'll use 11.5 inches. So take your measurement, then you mark the beginning of the cape. I'll start by marking the first line, which is the beginning. Next, I'll take the cape length of 12 inches, then I'll mark it into a straight line. I'll mark a neck width of 3 inches and the depth for the back is 1.5. This pattern is for both the front and the back cape. For the neck width, I'll reduce it to 2.5 inches instead. I don't want it too wide. Although this can work for everyone. For the front neck depth, I'll take 3 inches and use my armhole curve and connect it back to the 2.5 inches width. Mark half of your shoulder measurement on the shoulder line. My shoulder is 14 inches. I'll suggest you add extra 1 inch to your shoulder. Half of 14 inches is 7 inches. Here, I'll mark 7 inches. Then I'll come down from the half shoulder point by 1 inch for the slope and connect back to the neck width. I've already taken my full length. Sorry, I need to draw out the bust line of 10.5 inches and mark it also. So I'm going to label this. So this is the chest line, the full length, then the bust. Repeat half of your shoulder measurement on your chest line and mark it into a straight line. Measure what you have on the line and divide the midpoint by 2. Put a dot mark on it and come in by half inch. So I'll take 3.75 inches measurement on the midpoint of the armhole line. Divide your bust circumference by 4. So my bust is 36 inches. I'll measure 9 inches. Then I'll use the curved part of my ruler and connect from the 9 inches bust measurement to the midpoint of the armhole back to the shoulder. To get your cape, you can make use of two methods. You can either measure your round shoulder and make it as square as possible. Don't make use of your exact measurement to accommodate you. The other way you can get it is from the shoulder slope. Take 3 to 3.5 inches or your round circumference. When you divide it by 4, mark out the measurement from the shoulder line into the slope. So mine is 47 inches. So you can make it free. Yeah, I divided it by 4 to get 11.75 inches. So you can see it's almost 4 inches. It's almost on the 4 inches line. So it will give you the same result. So I'm going to use the 3.5 inches mark. So I'll extend the slope into the 3.5 inches point. So I'll replicate the measurement I have on my slope also on the chest line. So if you decide to use the circumference method, repeat the quarter of your round measurement on the full length. So I'll mark 11.75 inches. So at this point, you can determine the shape of your cape. You can either make it curvy or pointy. So I'll follow the cape on the video, right? So I'll use the curved part of my ruler to draw out the curved shape. So if you want to use the straight part of the ruler, connect it this way. So I'll make use of a pencil, then I'll come in by half inch. So if you still desire the shoulder part curved, make use of the inner curved ruler. So I'm going to follow the curved cape. Now I'll connect all the points together. I'll use the inner curved ruler to properly get the curved shoulder from the half inch mark I took from the 3.5 inches extension. So this is the line I need, right? Then for the back, you need a dart so the cape at the back can easily relax. So divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2, mark it on the full length and go up by 5 to 6 inches for the length of the darts. I'll measure the 6 inches and make it into a straight line. Then mark half inch on both sides of the dart and connect it back to the 6 inches length or your preferred length. Now for the opening, start the measurement around the front neck depth only. The back does not have an opening, okay? So how open you want it will determine the measurement you use. You can use 1 inch. So when you open it up, you have 2 inches. For the opening for 1.5 inches, you have 3 inches. Then mark out the line you want. So this is for the 1 inch line and for the 1.5 inches. I'm going to make use of the 1.5 inches. So I'm going to cut out the back cape first. So cut out the back neck depth first, then you cut out the cape for the back. Now to the front stylish cape, fold in your darts before cutting the front pattern. So I'll transfer the pattern into fabric now. You need some pins to hold your fabric, so add half inch round, add to your shoulder, the side, then after the full length. This is how to cut the back fabric. Notch the dart area. So insert some set of pins into the dart to indicate where you start stitching on your fabric like you see me do. Now to the front pattern, but before that I'll open up my back fabric. So also add half inch round the front fabric. So I have 1.5 inches here, so I'll cut it open. Then I also cut out the neck depth. Fold in your darts before cutting. I'll chalk out half inch allowance on the neck and the center front line. I'm going to cut each piece separately, or you can fold your fabric in two and cut out both parts. I'll turn it to the wrong side and cut out the other cape. Now I have my complete front cape, but I'm going to readjust this part and take out another half inch. So when I open it up, I'll have 4 inches. I'll take out half inch on the center front. So I'm going to make the readjustment and I want it wider. So in total, I'll have 4 inches. I hope you understand. If you look closely at the cape, the shoulder area is elevated. So to get the exact result, you need to add a shoulder pad or cut out pieces from the pattern and add collar gum stay. So mark a curved shape from your half shoulder back into the armhole area. Cut it out and replicate like 4 pieces of it. Then you cut out your lining also. Add paper stay to the lining and edge stay to the main fabric. Here is the main fabric and the lining. So I've joined the back to the front for the main fabric. The first thing I did was to join the darts for the back. So do this following your pattern. Just measure the length of your darts. The next thing I did was to join the front and the back cape together. Join by half inch sewing allowance all around and notch every part so it can properly relax. Then turn it to the right side and iron. So I tack this buttonhole where the buttons will be placed later on. This is what I make use of for the buttonhole. So measure like 3 inches for the length and cut out 2 pieces. You can as well use the exact fabric for the holes. And when attaching, make sure you stitch it inwards so as I have it. Remember, you're going to be joining with your lining. Also iron the back and the dart area. Repeat exactly the same process for the main fabric as well for the lining. So I stitch one side of my dart. So use some set of pins here to make your work easy. Join by half inch also, then notch it round. Before joining the front and the back cape, attach your extension on the shoulder. Iron your collar stay on the 4 pieces and attach on the shoulder line. You can also stitch it after sewing the 2 parts together. Then follow the direction as so. And joining the lining together with your fabric, ensure the right side of the lining and the fabric are facing each other. So let the buttonhole fall to the other side so you won't sew it inwards. So stitch it round by half inch. Make sure the darts on the same line and it aligns. Then go ahead and notch round the cape. Afterwards, you need to open just one part of the lining and turn it to the right side. After you've done that, you cut off any joining allowance on the sides and every other part so you can relax. So iron your cape well for a neat finish. Then the button spacing I use is half inch apart. I'm going to go to the machine and stitch the darts for the lining. I've ironed the darts for both the lining and the fabric, and I've ironed my cape. So I've also sewn in the stay. So you iron with the gum stay on the shoulder. It should be sewn exactly as I have it. So this is done on the lining. Take note of that. Iron the shiny part of the collar stay on the lining. Then you sew it in after the half inch joining on your shoulder, because if you sew it before then, you eventually trim off that part when cutting off the half inch sewing allowance. Now it's time to place the lining and the fabric together and stitch by half inch allowance. Move the buttonhole aside and continue to attach your pins round the cape. So this part should be on the same spot exactly. Every other part, the shoulder, the darts, also here, is very necessary. Please like this video, and if you have not subscribed, please do so. Thank you. So I'm going to go to the machine and join the two pieces together and open up the lining and turn it to the right side. Here's the result. So yours should look exactly like this. So you notch it round. Then I stitch this side of the stay also, so it won't be a problem later. So also notch the neck and this opening. Create an opening on the lining to turn it to the right side. Once you're done sewing and joining both the lining and the fabric, so you're going to turn it to the right side as you see me do. So you notice the shoulder pad is stable and elevated, alright? So put it inside of the lining. Then I'll tack the buttons on the right side. But first, make sure you iron this properly. Take your time to also iron the hemming parts. The buttonhole should be attached after the half-inch joining allowance of my lining and the fabric. So I removed the first one and fixed it half-inch after the second one that I did. So after ironing, this is going to look way better. So you trim off any half-inch joining allowance round so it can look really nice. So here is the back also. So next I'm going to fix my buttons. So I'm going to personally rock this beautiful stylish cape. I really love it. I hope you try yours and it come out really nice. So until I see you in my next video. Bye guys. The back of your cape should relax this way.